When I was at school, researching information for an essay involved going to the library and copying notes from an encyclopedia into my copybook by hand. Some families actually had entire encyclopedias at home, which were lightly purchased from a door to door salesman. There was no autocomplete, no instant summary, no, just give me the answer. It was slow, it was tedious. Sometimes it was boring, and it was always effortful. Now, the birth of the internet led to the demise of the encyclopedia salesman and dramatically changed how we consume information. And now, as we all know, AI has taken things to a whole other level. Now, before I go into this, I want to say I use AI. I love AI, but I'm really interested in what AI is doing to how our brains work. Anyway, a student today, as you know, can simply type a question into a chatbot, and within seconds they have a tidy explanation, an essay draft, citations, a study plan, and a polished conclusion. It's absolutely incredible. It's mind-boggling for someone like me who kind of grew up way before the internet, and where a computer was the entire size of a floor of a building. Anyway, AI saves tons of time, but there's a twist. When learning becomes too easy, our brains may not actually learn very much at all. So that's what I'm really interested in here, in what I want to look at in this episode. Yes, we get an easy end result, but the human brain evolved for learning through struggle and challenge. So, why does struggle matter so much? Well, it matters because your brain is built to change with use. So, every time you practice, retrieve, and wrestle with an idea, you are strengthening the neural pathways that support it. That's neuroplasticity. Over time, active learning helps build cognitive reserve, which supports brain health, which I'm absolutely passionate about, and also boosts your day to day brain performance. Hello, and welcome to Super Brain, the podcast for everyone with a brain. This is your host, Sabina Brennan, and today I want to dig into a question that's right at the center of education, work, and of course, everyday life. How does AI change the way we learn? As a psychologist and neuroscientist, I am fascinated by the paradox here. Tools like ChatGPT can speed up access to information, can help us organize our thoughts, and even tutor us through a difficult topic. But they can also strip away the very effort that makes learning stick. If you've ever felt that slightly unsettling thing where you've read something, it makes sense, and you nod along, and then you try to explain it and it vanishes. That's what I'm talking about today. So let's start with context as always. What's different about AI? We've been here before. Every major learning technology, the printing press, the calculator, the internet, Google, has sparked the fear that it will make us lazy thinkers. Plato had a version of this anxiety too. In Phaedrus, he warns that writing could weaken memory because people would start relying on external records instead of practicing recall. He argued that this would result in gaining the appearance of knowledge without the deeper work of understanding. Sometimes those fears are exaggerated. I advocate for using external tools that can free up mental space for higher level thinking. But AI is a different kind of tool because it doesn't just store or retrieve information, it generates it. And the bigger story of human history is actually similar. When our ancestors harnessed fire, it didn't just solve a survival problem, it freed time and energy for social learning, planning, and experimentation. The very kinds of pressures that helped language, foresight, and innovation take off and produce our amazing brain. See, AI can do the thinking shaped bits for us: drafting, summarizing, structuring arguments, suggesting examples, which is absolutely brilliant, right up until we confuse a polished output with genuine understanding. And research is still catching up. I recently read a fascinating piece in The Conversation by cognitive psychologist Brian Stone, who points out that while AI is moving into classrooms at lightning speed, robust research hasn't moved nearly as fast. Early studies show benefits in some context, but there's also studies showing downsides and plenty of methodological weaknesses in the optimistic papers. So, why does hard, effortful learning work? What's the science? Well, let's build on the core idea. In cognitive psychology, there's a useful way of describing thinking as two modes: a fast, automatic mode and a slow, effortful one. I've talked about this a lot in my books, and I think I've also talked about it in some previous episodes. Anyway, you will often hear these called System 1 and System 2. System 1 is pattern matching, intuition, habit, the mental autopilot. System 2 is slower, more deliberate, more demanding, and it's the mode that we use when we're learning something new, reasoning through a tricky problem or resisting a tempting shortcut. And here's the key: mastery is built in System 2. So think about riding a bike. Once you're fluent at it, it feels absolutely effortless. That's System 1. But the only reason it feels effortless is because you did the wobbly, frustrating, brain burning System 2 work first. You don't get mastery without that cognitive workout. That connects with another well known idea in learning science called desirable difficulty. When learning is slightly challenging, when we have to retrieve, practice, make mistakes, correct them, just struggle a bit, the brain lays down stronger memory traces and more flexible understanding. Now, you're not looking for impossible difficulty or pointless frustration, but just the right kind of effort. The effort that forces your brain to build the pathway rather than borrow someone else's. So, what happens when a machine does the work for you? Stone uses a metaphor which is really brilliant. Um, he suggests that you imagine a robot that accompanies you to the gym and lifts the weights for you. No strain, no sweat, no wobble. For a while, you feel like you're doing the gym because you're present, but your muscles don't get stronger. And you will become dependent on the robot, even for everyday tasks. That's cognitive offloading, handing your mental work to an external tool. We all do it. We write to-do lists, we use calendars, we set reminders. Offloading isn't bad in and of itself. And and in fact, it can be a really useful strategy to free up brain resources for complex activities. The crux of the issue with AI is whether you are offloading the right parts at the right time for the right reason. When students use AI to complete a quiz, write an essay, or solve a problem end to end, they bypass the very thing they need to build learning: the mental workout, the challenge, the struggle. In the moment, it feels efficient, but in the long run, it can hollow out our skill. Then there's the metacognition trap: when you think you know, but you don't. So, this second problem is really sneaky. When we offload thinking, we often misread our own understanding. Psychologists call these metacognitive errors, errors in judging what we actually know. In his article, Stone again points to a modern everyday example: GPS. If you always outsource navigation, your spatial memory can suffer. I've definitely experienced this. Before navigating systems were a thing, if I had to make my way to somewhere I'd never been before, I would have to plan my journey in advance by looking at a map or by asking someone. Then I'd either write down the directions or I'd rehearse and keep repeating them throughout my journey. Often the return journey was easier to navigate because I could use recall and recognition of the directions and the landmarks. So nowadays, I have to select home on my GPS before embarking on my return journey because I haven't embedded the directions. Then there's the Google effect. That's just when you Google answers constantly, you can become overconfident in your own knowledge because the information is so easy to access. So it feels like it's in your head, even when it isn't. And AI then can supercharge this illusion because the output sounds so confident. And if it's written in your tone, using your phrasing and your examples, it can feel like you're thinking, even when it's not. So, one study found that students who researched a topic using ChatGPT rather than a more usual web search experienced lower cognitive load. That meant they didn't have to think as hard, but they produced worse reasoning about the topic afterwards. Another study is even more revealing. Students used AI to revise their essays, and they often scored higher, sometimes by copying and pasting AI generated sentences. But they showed no greater knowledge gain or knowledge transfer than students who revised without AI. The authors of that study actually warned about the metacognitive laziness, short-term performance improvements paired with long-term skill stagnation. So you're not actually growing in knowledge and actually not really growing your brain either. So AI is now sort of surfacing as a tutor. Um, is it a brain booster or a brain drain? Well, to be fair, the story isn't AI is bad for learning. It's much more nuanced than that. Rather than using AI as a robot weightlifter, it actually can work very well, more like a personal trainer, using it as a tool that can scaffold learning, keeping you on task, providing hints, and pushing you to do the actual work. That's exactly the idea behind new tutor modes and learning modes from major AI companies. Instead of handing you the answer, the chatbot asks questions, gives prompts, and nudges you through the reasoning, Socratic style or personal trainer style. Research in this area is quite limited. But early results from the research that we do have are mixed. There's one interesting study which looked at high school students who were reviewing maths, studying maths. So some students used base ChatGPT. Others used a customized tutor style version that gave hints without revealing answers. And then a third group studied without AI, traditional studying. When they later took an exam without AI access, those who used base ChatGPT did much worse than the group who just studied without AI in the traditional way. Studying with the tutor bot offered no exam advantage over just studying without AI. But what is concerning is that the base ChatGPT group, who did much worse than the group who'd studied without AI, that group didn't realize their performance was worse. And those who studied with the tutor bot mistakenly thought that they had done better than the no AI study group. Essentially, the use of AI introduced metacognitive errors. The students thought that they knew more than they actually did. So they were overestimating their own knowledge. And that last bit really matters. It means the danger isn't only that AI can reduce learning, it can also make you feel like you're learning when you're not. And that's not good. Really is the perfect recipe for getting stuck, for stagnating. At this point in our knowledge about the impact of AI on cognition, on our cognitive performance, my feeling would be not to throw AI out altogether. I've got so used to using it myself. But so to use AI to support the cognitive workout, the mental workout, not to remove the cognitive workout or the cognitive load or the mental exercising. So if you want to successfully learn something new, you really need to spend time in effortful mode, retrieving, practicing, generating your own answers, making your own connections. AI becomes helpful when it does the trainer jobs, clarifying, giving you feedback, providing hints, generating practical questions, helping you spot gaps in what you've done, and nudging you maybe towards better explanations or better answers or better essays, whatever it is you're working on. It becomes harmful when it does the student job, the human job. Um, composing the actual essay, solving the problem, making the decisions, drawing conclusions before you've actually built any foundations. So, tools in three. Let's make this practical. So, I'm going to suggest 3 ways to use AI that keep you firmly in the driver's seat. I'm going to give you the idea and then a few prompts, and you can literally copy and paste them. I'll save them up on my link tree as a PDF, so you can just copy and paste them. So 1, flip the script. Make AI quiz you rather than the other way around. Instead of asking for answers, ask for challenges. Get the chatbot to behave like a tutor, like an examiner, or like a coach. And you know what? Challenge is just brilliant for brain health, and it will really help harness that wonderful capacity that we have as humans for neuroplasticity. So try prompts like, ask me 5 questions on my topic. Start easy, then increase difficulty. Don't give me the answers until I've attempted to answer it myself. Here's another prompt, that might work well with, maths or anything requiring problem solving. Your prompt would be something like, give me a worked example with one crucial step missing, so I have to complete it. Then show me the correct step and explain why. Another one would be to prompt AI to create a mini practice test. After each answer I give, tell me what I got right, what I missed, and what I need to practice next. This forces retrieval and error correction. They're 2 of the strongest levers for long-term learning. Tool 2, explain back. Turn output into understanding. So when AI explains something well, it can feel like you've learned it. The test is whether you can recreate the idea without support. So here's a simple routine. Read the explanation, look away, and teach it back in your own words. If you can't, you haven't encoded it yet. I actually used to use that when I was studying myself. I didn't have AI to give me the answer in the first place, but I definitely used to study something and then try and teach it back as if there was someone else in the room with me. You can, to do this, you can use prompts like explain ABC in 120 words, then ask me to explain it back, grade my explanation, and tell me what's missing. Another prompt could be, give me 3 analogies for XYZ, then ask me to create my own analogy and critique it. Another prompt could be, here's my explanation, and you paste your explanation into ChatGPT or whatever AI you're using. Then ask AI, what are the 2 biggest misunderstandings in it? So this is all supporting you to learn and to interrogate your own understanding. Tool 3, dial up the difficulty. Use AI to stretch you. Most of us use AI to make things easier. Try flipping that and use it to make things harder, but in the right way, the way that builds skill and learning and knowledge and expertise. Ask AI for progressively tougher problems, for counterexamples, for what-if scenarios, for alternative viewpoints. Treat AI like a sparring partner who's going to make you better, not a crutch for you to lean on. So you could try prompts like, give me a question that will expose whether I truly understand my topic, then give me feedback on my reasoning, not just my answer. Another prompt, challenge my argument from the strongest opposing perspective, then ask me to respond. Prompt AI to generate 3 common misconceptions about ABC and test me on them. So quick note, if you're listening as an educator or you're in a leadership role or you're a parent or whatever, this issue isn't only student behavior, it's design. If the default path is type prompt, receive finished product, people will take it. The temptation to avoid hard work is ancient. AI just makes the shortcut smoother. The key to avoid this is to build environments where the cognitive workout is visible and rewarded. Ask learners or members of your team or your kids to show their reasoning. Get them to keep a process log. Explain their choices. Reflect on errors and compare their maybe first drafts with final drafts. And when AI is allowed, make the use explicit. What did you ask it? What did it return? What did you accept or reject? What did you seek further support for? What supporting evidence did you look at yourself? You know, what sources did you actually check out yourself and why? Those questions pull the learner back into system two and really, you know, support them to grow, to learn, to increase knowledge. AI is definitely here to stay, and like every powerful tool, it is neither good nor bad in and of itself. What matters is how we use it. We can treat it as a shortcut and risk hollow learning or no learning at all, to be honest. Or we can treat it as scaffolding, a way of amplifying effort while keeping our brains in the driver's seat. So next time you're tempted to let AI write the whole essay, solve the entire problem, or tidy up your thinking before you've done the thinking, take pause. Ask yourself, do you really actually want to learn this, or are you just engaging in a box ticking exercise? Remember, the learning lies in the struggle. Your super brain grows stronger when you lift the weights yourself. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow, rate, and share Superbrain with a friend. And if you'd like to go deeper into how your brain shapes what you can achieve, you might enjoy my book, The Neuroscience of Manifesting. Take care, and thank you for listening.